I encourage everyone to take a moment and breathe and take a tea cheers with a Jiri tea. A Jiri tea recognizes the beauty in shared stories and shared opportunities. Ajiri sources award-winning tea from Kenya, employs women in the region to handcraft the labels, and sends 100% of the profits back to the region to support orphan education. Save 10% on your order of Kenyan teas and coffee with the code BeautifullyHuman at ajiritea.com. AJIRIT.com. Tea mugs up. Hello and welcome to the Beautifully Human podcast. I'm Nick Sheesby. In this podcast, I speak with beautiful humans from all around the world, sharing with you their incredible stories, revealing the power in every human story, to spread love and humanity to a world that is in desperate need of it, to show that we can all connect in beautiful ways, no matter where we come from or what we look like. What you will find out is that we are all beautifully human. Let's all be beautifully human. Hello again. Welcome back to the Beautifully Human podcast. Today, I am hanging out with Veronica Williams, and she is such a beautiful soul, such a sweet woman. You will hear it all throughout her story. Man, she grew up in a massive family. She'll tell you all about that and kind of what that brought into her life and just the ways that that changed her and how she's putting that beauty back into the world now. Again, I will let her tell you all about that, but it is truly beautiful what she is doing in the world. If you enjoy this podcast, follow along on Spotify and on Instagram at the Beautifully Human Podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Just helps get these stories out to more people, which is super awesome. And again, enjoy this conversation. All right. So I love to kick these off and start with a very broad overarching question and tell me the story of your life.
Well, the story of my life began, I grew up in Compton, California, which is probably, for those that are, I always think of it as the movie Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're familiar with that movie, that was my life. Compton, during the time that I was growing up, was heavily populated with drugs, and gang violence was tremendously on a rise. That they were ranked fourth in the most dangerous city, fourth in the country.
Wow.
In the United States, that is.
Yeah.
I grew up in a family of 11. I am number 11. And
wow.
We had 4 boys, 7 girls, and I'm also the 7th girl.
Man, that's incredible.
Yes, living in Compton. My parents were the type of city that it was. They did everything to structure our home life a lot different from the environment that was around us, and that we were a family of faith. It's just where my parents kind of drove us as children. When my father had realized that I was the 7th girl, my mother said, he said, I'm going to have to be on my knees all the time. But his lifelong prayer for his daughters was that they make it through high school without being pregnant. Because even in Compton, we had the drugs, we had the violence. Teenage pregnancy was on the rise.
Yeah, I bet.
And so we all made it through, thank goodness. And so I was happy to do that. But they did that because the way they structured us in our faith. And our faith is what helped us for me personally, my faith is what helped me to get through life and all of the challenges that were around me. The neighborhood gang members were like my neighbors,
Yeah.
The one story I have is that my friends and we were going trick or treating. We were in middle school. I would say we were about eighth grade, because back then middle school was seventh, eighth, and ninth. It was our last year to go trick or treating. We really didn't dress up any kind of way, but we went. And these guys were coming. They were neighborhood boys. Was
Mhm.
coming to grab our candy bag, our trick or treat bag. Fortunately, one of the guys in there said, "Oh no, we can't take their bags." Talking about me and my friend's bag.
Yeah.
And that saved our other three friends as well, because he said, "Oh no, these are my neighbors. These are good kids." My maiden name back then was Morrow. And he was like,
Okay.
"Oh no, that's a Morrow. We can't mess with her."
You mess with
So
her, you get a whole group of people coming
a
after you.
whole group. And well, the thing about the story with that guy is that his father were friends with my father and my friend's father.
Okay.
So there was no way. He knew that his parents would come down on him.
Yeah.
So that was one of my funny stories growing up in Compton, going trick-or-treating and trying, having your bag almost snatched, but thank goodness we knew the kid that was going to do it
Yeah.
and that he liked us.
Right. Right. Oh, that's amazing.
So from there, high school years were fun. I was a flag girl. You have the song girls, cheerleaders, but I was a flag girl. I had a really good life. And high school wasn't too bad for me. It was a lot more fun, because of course for me, I had older siblings that I all reached high school.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't want to go to the same high school, but of course I had no choice. My mother's like, "You're going to the neighborhood school, please."
Right.
And so going there, it wasn't very bad, because a lot of my middle school friends were also at that high school. So we still remained friends. We still had a good time going to football games and really building relationships. And those relationships stem from our college years to even now. We're still close. We still check in with each other as adults and parents.
Love that.
Now, unfortunately, they are all grandparents or either have adult children. My husband and I, we still have soon to be all three in high school. We have twin eighth graders that will be graduating in a couple of weeks or promoting. And then we have a
Amazing.
son that's a junior.
Okay.
So that lives to my life. So I am a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a sibling till there's 8 siblings living
Okay.
now. And I am still, I wasn't your typical baby sister. I was more like looked at on where they came to me for wisdom,
Ah,
or when they were in trouble or they needed a prayer or the family needed a prayer time, they would lean on me for that.
that's really beautiful.
And so that also stemmed to me as a young adult into my adult life now, is that I always was there to help mentor older women, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
Peers of my own age group, and giving advice about relationships, purpose, and peer pressures. And as a teen, you think you grow out of peer pressure as a teenager, but you get peer pressure from men as an adult when you're
Yeah.
trying to abstain from a relationship that is going to be that. So that
Yeah.
was part of my life. And so from all of that, I that is where it has brought me today with my own life as not only a wife and a mother, but I'm also a minister, and I am a master life coach, where I work with women to become whole. So
Yeah.
many things have happened in women's lives. From Not everybody had a good childhood.
Right.
It happened in the family, outside the family, in the neighborhood, from abuse to suicide to addictions to whatever. And just allowing women to learn that they don't have to be whole, but a way of becoming whole is first getting in check with your faith, And knowing who you are kind of helps start that process, and learning to deal with the stresses of life and how to come out of that. And so one way is that, I let them know, it starts with the mind. Like we have to nourish our body with food and water. We have to nourish our mind with positive thoughts. We have to
Yes.
nourish our mind with knowing what's best for us. A lot of that I tell them, reading a Bible, in your faith, getting connected with other women that are thinking positive,
Yeah.
just drawing that positive into your life and just moving forward, staying focused. You have write out a vision for what you want, or a goal that what you want, and stick with it. And if those things don't align with it, then you can't get involved with it. Whatever types of relationships that are not there to help nurture you into whatever your purpose is.
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful. I think that's such important work, especially I love that you're helping women too with that, because I can't even imagine the trials and tribulations that women have been through coming up as in where you grew up, let alone all over the world. So I think that's really speaks to you as a human, even when you were younger, that you were there to be that for people. I think
Yes,
that's really amazing.
definitely. Yes, and I think what happens is I was always a listener,
Mm.
and I didn't have judgment. I just help people look at their story, or what their situation in a different islands. Like
Yeah.
we're so close to our situation that we can't see out. So I would help people zoom out to see
Mm.
the bigger picture from a bird's eye view, to see
Yeah.
how you might be able to fix it. And I look at life as a jigsaw puzzle. And sometimes from a baby till when we get ready to die, our life we have this huge jigsaw piece of a puzzle, and we don't know how to put the pieces together.
Yeah.
Some of the pieces look like they go there, and you're
Right.
you're forcing it, right?
Yeah.
Then you have to realize, what, it don't fit there.
Right.
Maybe that's not where I'm supposed to be. So let me get this other piece that looks like it can be the shape that is the perfect shape for that. And then that's how our lives are smoothed out a little bit, when we can uh, look at our life from a perspective of zooming out more so than being so close in.
Yeah, and I think that's such a perfect way to describe it, is because we are so hyper focused and we're so zoomed in on exactly what's happening, that when you have somebody who listens, who will take the time to zoom you out and say, this is what I'm seeing, that's such an important way to look at it. Because I know, and also I think such an important point is the listening part, because I think so many people come into a conversation and they just want to talk and talk and talk, and it's like, I mean, a lot of times when you're helping to heal, that healing just needs to be active ears to let that person rant about what they've been going through, because that's a massive thing for people. Some people just don't have active ears to listen. So I think that's really beautiful that you said that you're an active listener.
Yeah, I'm a woman of faith, and in scripture, it talks about we should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow in getting angry.
Yeah.
you know and so I find that that's what makes you a good friend,
Yeah.
is that you're quick to listen. People just want to be heard.
Right.
Not only do they want to be seen, but sometimes just listening tells that person, I see you,
Yes.
I see your pain,
Yeah.
I'm here for you, because you don't open up. You're giving them that opportunity. So
Yeah.
that's how I like to look at my life, as a woman of encourager. And I guess if I had a superhero power, it would be a woman of healing.
Yeah. I
I'm
love
always
that.
told that my voice is refreshing and calming.
Yes.
And even in the midst of chaos, and I'm like, well, that's good to know. And so I've always tried to maintain, and I thought I always talked too loud. I thought my voice was too hoarse or
Hmm.
whatever. But I recently had vocal cord surgery a little bit over 6 months ago,
Oh, wow.
and I had to learn how to um, engage in conversations with people in loud places because I didn't know that I was overcompensating in loud places, speaking loud because my voice tone was so low.
Oh,
So
wow.
now I'm learning how to just be normal in a normal setting, whether it be loud or quiet. So
Yeah.
and that was a lesson in that too. Like,
Oh, I bet.
wow, it's a lesson about relationships. If we just take the time to just learn to sit back and listen and observe, we can have better results in our relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I think we all need to learn that when to speak and when to listen. I think it would help so many people. I know there's times in my life where I have just talked and talked and talked and talked, and it got me to places I didn't want to be in. Had I just listened a little bit to what that person was saying, I would have heard it in the right way, and then it would have gone completely differently. So I think that's so important for us as a lesson just overall in life is just take a breath, listen. Not everyone's attacking you. They might just be doing it out of all kinds of love. And I know in the moment it can feel like you're being attacked when someone's talking to you about that kind of thing. But also listening to what people have to say towards you once you've said your piece, or if they're taking a step to be there for you, to listen as well when someone's speaking about you, taking that bird's eye view on your life, take that into effect into your life.
Yes, and part of that is that we have to learn to not wear our feelings or our emotions on our sleeve. And that is why we have such chaos in relationships because we're so easily offended.
Yeah.
But that's something that we don't learn as children. It's something you learn as you take different courses in school, or you build you're in friendships with other people that say, "Wow, why don't that might have learned that in their home." So that's bridging other people things and new things in life, that you learn together to kind of help shape you into who you are to be. And it doesn't always have to be, my thing about women is that I let them know that you're not you're not in it by yourself. And I remember teaching a women's Bible study, and I had an epiphany as I was teaching, and it was that, and the women, the I can't even remember the topic or the subject we were talking about, but what I do envision is that the women were hurting. They were
Mm.
in so much pain. And what I got out of that was that I am not whole unless my sister is whole.
Mm.
Now I thought, oh my, that's my six sisters. I got to go help.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really about my six sisters as much as it was about the women in the room,
Yeah.
and helping them to not feel the burden and the weight, and to find ways to get through these, give them some strategies, give them some skills, some tools that they are necessary to navigate through their life situation that seems like it's dire straits for them. And that is what has led me to be more of a women's ministry, or women coach, to help women get out of the funk of life,
Yeah.
get out of the funk of their situation,
Yeah.
and know that it could be different, but it's who you're connected to. Check your surroundings. Are you around women that you that you admire, and that they're where you are? One thing that they talk about women is that women are jealous of each other. You can never get a whole bunch of women together, and um, because it's going to be some chaos.
Right.
But really, when you zoom out of that, it's really that women are not jealous. They just have misplaced admiration.
Mm. Yeah.
They're not jealous. They like what you're doing, but they don't know how to get there.
Sure.
So if we just open up and say, hey sister, I love you, I appreciate you, I admire you, how can you assist me to get where you are, because you have some things in you that I want to be in me and
Yeah.
I don't have them, but how can I help you? How can you help me? And maybe as we get to know each other, there's something that I have that can help you too. So
Yeah.
now we're not attacking each other, but we're sisters. We're linking
Right.
together, your arm and mine. We're building chains that is going to take us as women through this male predominantly world and become who we were created to be and learn to have a voice. So
Yes.
many women are silenced in their homes as children, because when I was young, after I got a spanking, my mother said, now you get over there and you sit down. I
Yeah.
couldn't say, Mom, that switched hurt. you
Right.
know, I had to take the pain.
Yeah.
But even as a mother, I realized that discipline method probably was all that she knew
Sure.
and all that she knew to do with 11 children, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So me, I had to figure out what tactics am I going to use? I know I didn't like it. Am I going to do that with my children, or how am I going to do that? So I had to grow and see how other women around me were mothers, those that had good relationships with their children, those that had grown through the relationship, the hard, difficult teenage years, and figure out what pieces of that can I take for me when we talk about admiration to
Yeah.
help me become a good mother, a mother that will have a good relationship with my daughter and my two sons, and that we'll have a nurturing home that displays love that, their friends may not get. So,
Right. Yeah, that's so beautiful. I was thinking of a couple of things when you were speaking. Is I have a different podcast with a friend of mine where we speak to people in the music industry, crew and bands and everything, and we've had a bunch of amazing women on there, and it just came up with the first woman we spoke to, and we just asked like what challenges, because it's mostly a male dominated, which a lot of places are, sadly. It's a male dominated industry, and the most common answer from these women was that other women in the industry were the hardest part, because there was competition, because there were so few of them, that it was like, if you're in this position of power and I want it, like I'm coming at it. There was this like feud, because there was exactly what you were just talking about, so I definitely see that from friends of mine who work in the same industry as me. And then on the flip side of it, I was watching, my partner's a part of a woman's travel, I don't know what you call it, company. It's like a membership company online where they do travel hacks and like seminars and all this kind of stuff. And it's really beautiful. And she did a seminar on Friday just talking about being a member and like the perks and everything. And they had 4 different women come on and share their experiences with being a part of this. And then at that point, I was watching it and I was just like, man, this is really incredible when women can come together and have this sense of community and have this like, oh, I'm rooting for you. Go out there and travel and do this or whatever. It doesn't have to necessarily be travel, but it was just really beautiful to see the support system that these women had brought together. And I was blown away by it. And I'd seen opposites, and so that was really cool to see, of when women can get together and just be like, we are incredible, we are women, and we need to support each other and get all the other shit out of the way. It's like,
yes,
let's just be and support each other. It was really beautiful. And I that was like an hour of my day the other day just watching that, and I was like, this is really beautiful. And I mean, more than anything too, it's just all these humans from all over the world working together and saying, hey, you're in fill in the blank place where you live, you can come stay with me, or let me know, and I'll show you around. I'll take you to local spots. And it was just a really beautiful way of community around the world, but also just the power of women when they come together. It was really
Mhm.
unbelievable.
Yeah, that sounds very beautiful. And that's it. It's all about unity. We're the same. We go
Yeah.
through some of the same struggles. So why should we fight among ourselves or have friction among ourselves when we could just link up together and be more powerful? I really agree with that for you. With
Yeah.
that. And that sounds like a very nice women's travel organization that is just refreshing.
Yeah. It's called Wanderful. It's really beautiful. Like I said, it was really cool too. If you pay to be a member, as you pay to be a member, they extend it to another woman who doesn't have the funds to be a part of it. So if you buy a membership, you also buy a membership for somebody else. It's a one for one kind of deal, which I thought was so amazing because some people
Yeah.
just don't have the means to be a part of something like that. So I thought that was pretty neat. The whole scenario and the whole organization's really rad. So I definitely have seen both sides, and I agree with the let's all unify. Let's just come together, use the power that we have, and make it more beautiful. It's I just think that in life of why we're fighting over this insignificant the details that people hate each other for or want to, like, you see the opposite, and it's just, it doesn't make any sense to me of why that hatred's out there.
Well, this is the thing. Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And people go in life never having the hurt fixed. And so it carries over from infancy till toddlers till children, adults, teenagers, and then adults, and then in your life, and then in your relationship. And so a part of my life coaching is not only just with the women, but my husband and I, we also do life coaching for couples.
Oh, beautiful.
Um, yeah, we do it for couples that are engaged and couples that I call it hiccups. They haven't figured out why we're not meshing right now.
Yeah.
And so that to me, that's what I love. That's what I grew up in a family where my parents, before my father passed away, they were married 57 years.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is because we see so much in the news, like in the music industry, in the celebrity industry, you hear of divorce so constant, right?
Yep.
But what we do is we try to let people know because they're never taught how to have healthy relationships.
Yeah.
Relationships do not have to be as intensified as they are. But I think when we learn how to meet each person where they are, and we realize what you're really angry at is not really towards me, but it's towards something that you didn't have fixed a long time ago.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so important is whatever baggage you bring in, don't put that on your person.
Right.
Work on that with your person because it's yes, there is stuff that's you're going to hurt each other in a relationship. That's just bound to happen. But if you bring in all the old and push it on that person, it's you got to deal with that part first
Yeah.
and talk about that. And like you said, there's so many people just don't have somebody to talk to about that or haven't known that it's okay to talk to somebody about that. I come from a community where it was very much that, where you just don't talk about, you don't put your business out there, you don't talk about it to anybody, you just kind of deal with it or not deal with it more so. And so I think for that's where I come from, was seeing that. So I see that creep into me and I bring that in and I have to be very active to not do that, to not just walk away when there's a problem. So I know that I bring old baggage in, and that's just coming from my parents where I grew up and everything. And it's
Yeah.
like I have to actively think about these things and come to a reckoning with it with myself so I don't put that on my partner.
Yeah, and a lot of it is people get married too soon.
Yeah.
Well, there's no time limit about what's too soon, but I would say 2 weeks is too soon.
Yeah,
you haven't
definitely.
gotten you haven't gotten an opportunity to really see them full fledged, you know.
Right.
I was reading something and heard something a few months ago, and it was saying that when you're dating, you need to date the person for all 4 seasons. You know how we have winter, summer, spring, and fall. You need to date them all that because so much happens and you change like a butterfly. You know,
Yeah.
you change, and so you don't when you engage in a relationship. Sure, the first part is putting on your best self, you know.
Yep.
Your instead of you coming, you sending your representative, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and that's what people like, is the representative.
Yeah.
But the minute you say I do, that's why they was like, oh, he changed or she changed. She didn't change, it's just that you didn't see it, you know,
Right.
because people don't see the subtle red flags in relationships. That's why sometimes we can, when you really like someone and you really, really are like, oh, I gotta have them.
Yeah.
I think you, you know,
Yeah.
I was in a singles Bible study, and I love that my the pastor of the single Bible study, he was like, ladies, you know, if you like somebody, you know, observe them first. Don't go send your friend to tell him, hey, my friend like you, you know, observe him. See if he really is what you think you see or what you think you want,
Yeah.
you know. And I know it could be anywhere, wherever you meet him, you know. It's a, you know, and I always tell people the first date, don't go to a movie and
Right.
drive yourself,
Yeah.
you know. Don't feel so
Just in case.
obligated.
Yeah.
Just in case. And be safe about it,
Right.
you know. So it's just, I can talk about that all the time because I
Yeah.
just in the coaching aspect of relationships with engaged couples and married couples who have hiccups, these are some of the identifying things that has happened that they never saw, you know, that they didn't know what to do. Because no, because one thing about life is that we're not taught how to date in a healthy way.
Right.
We're dating from what we see, whether it's through our parents, older siblings, relatives, things like that. But no one sits you down and give you a how-to book, like what's safe, what's not safe, what, you know, what's healthy, what isn't healthy, what signs to do. And I think maybe I need to do a self-help book like that, you know.
I think
But
so.
I think that then you can get into healthy relationships in that way, and life won't, you know, the it won't be so much tension in relationships, you know. They can,
Yeah.
you know, when newly couples get to know each other, when you spend time getting to know each other in conversation and in your ways, then you can say, oh wow, this is my hookup, you know, this is a partner that I can really live my
Yeah.
whole life with. But sometimes what's happening is people are only accepting the present
Mm-hmm.
of the other person when they walk down the aisle and say I do.
Yeah.
And then after they say I do, there's another part of that individual that they're not so happy with.
Right.
But if they had taken the time to get to know them throughout, how they function, how they think, how they make decisions, you know, how they spend their money,
Right.
then you would know whether, yes, I do. I can love this person in sickness and in health and to death do us part. But
Right.
we're only taking the first half of what we see. We don't
Yeah.
realize there's a whole lot more about this person.
Yep.
And then that's when we say, after 72 days, I don't want any more, you know.
Right.
And that's not, we need to know the sacredness of marriage and what it really entails, and how it's to be a lifelong marriage and not just a short-lived marriage. So
Right.
that's what we do in our coaching. We walk with them and we connect them with other couples that are similar to them in their pattern. And that's what makes them healthy marriages and learn to thrive through marriage, even through the hiccups. You can have a
Yeah.
marriage even through the hiccups.
Yeah, of
Because
course.
it could
I
start
love that.
out one way, but if both of you make the sacrifices and the changes for for you individually, then it can thrive. Then your
Yeah.
relationship can thrive.
Yeah. I had a question for what I want to throw it back to your family growing up. What was the age range of your siblings?
Oh, wow. So when I was born, I believe my oldest brother was 16.
Wow.
He's about 16 or 17 years older than me.
Wow.
Yes. So
That's
let me
amazing.
see. Yes, he was probably 17.
Okay.
And so I was a little young, and I don't remember him in the house with us that much because
Yeah.
that was during, and then my older brother with him, he was a year younger.
Okay.
So that was during the age, I don't remember a whole lot because they went off to Vietnam. They were drafted,
Oh, wow.
two sons.
Oh, man.
And so, but they didn't stay very long
Okay.
because unfortunately, one of my oldest brother had a nervous breakdown because he
Mm.
was thrown into this tragic thing. I don't talk about it a lot, but I'm
Yeah.
beginning to really see the shape of my family,
Sure.
and you through transparency can you only know how to change life.
Yeah.
And now I have to share my family history with my children. So I had to kind of figure out and dig up that for me.
Right.
And so then there was always, so there was two boys, and then there was a daughter who was my older sister who's now deceased. And then there was a brother with her, um, a brother after her, and then I had and then after that, all five of the other girls were born. Well,
Man.
actually, four girls was born, and then I had one other brother. He's the fourth. He was the fourth brother, and he's 3 years older than me.
Wow.
And so today is his birthday. Actually, I just texted him a
Amazing.
little while ago.
Happy
Yes,
birthday, brother. That's
and
amazing.
then it was me. So he
Wow.
was 3 when I was born.
Okay.
So and the other older siblings was between 17 and 3.
Wow. So what I was thinking with that was with you said now you're mentoring older women, and I'm wondering with that age range because I have one brother and he is a little over 11 months older than I am. So for a month and 10 days every year we're the same age. So we were very very close in age. I'm wondering with you, since you had so many older siblings that weren't they were older enough older to show you examples, and they weren't necessarily your parents. They weren't in like an authority role. I wonder if that was where you got the way to help older people in an older generation, because you had some 17-year-old brother who was 17 years older, and they're on down until 3 years older. Do you feel that that was something that kind of helped you like mature faster because you had peers, like siblings that you were palling around with that were quite a significant age gap from you?
I would say absolutely, but I won't say that I was to my siblings. I don't think I was palling around with them. I think I was tagging along with them.
Sure, sure, yeah.
However you say it, tagging
Whichever
along
way,
with
yeah.
them. And I believe that was it. My older sisters were great mentors, and they actually got married. Two of my sisters actually got married when they were 19.
Wow.
And they had good relationships. Well, the oldest sister got married, and until her death, she was married 32 years.
Wow.
The second oldest sister had a daughter, and she was only married for maybe until my niece was about 6 or 7. So what happens is I had all these older siblings, but I became a aunt
Yeah.
to a niece and a nephew at the age of 7.
Wow.
So, so
Wow.
that right there didn't really put me in a complete childhood because I'm also growing up with grandchildren, from my parents' perspective,
Yeah.
and
Oh
niece
my
and
goodness.
nephew. But to this day, my niece and I, we talk every day. You would think she's my little sister.
Yeah. That's
And
amazing.
again, I had to learn because I remember how I felt with my sisters. I felt like they felt I was tagging along with them, and I felt that with my niece.
Yeah.
But then but then I realized she wasn't tagging along. I started inviting her and being a part of her. And so that's what made the change there.
Yeah.
And even with my sisters, as I grew older, they realized, oh, wow, she's not that bad of a sister anyway, I guess is what
Right.
they were from their perspective. But yes, being able to conversate, have conversations, I think, and hearing my sisters talk and go through things, I believe absolutely that is probably what has helped me and shaped me to grow up a little sooner and have a little bit more wisdom
Yeah.
than most of my peers who had siblings that were probably doing the opposite things and teaching them the different things
Sure.
that my sisters was teaching me.
Oh, that's so amazing. I didn't even think about the fact that you could have a niece that close to you. Wow. Yeah,
A
I
niece
imagine
and a
people
nephew.
and a nephew. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, 7 years really isn't that, like, especially as we get older, 7 years doesn't look like 7 years. So
No.
that's
I
amazing.
remember I was in third grade. And I remember when my mother worked at my school, and I remember my mother saying, "Your sister had a daughter today, and she's coming. Well, not today, but she's coming home today."
Yeah.
And so my sister came to our house to stay so my mother could help her with the baby. And I think that was the first day my mother let me walk home from school by myself instead of waiting for her for the end of the day. Our school wasn't far, but we drove.
Yeah.
And I don't think I walked, I ran. I was so
Yeah.
excited, and I still envision it as if it was today.
Oh, that's so
Um,
beautiful.
it was exciting, but yet I didn't really know what all that meant
Sure.
until when I now say, oh, I was 7 years old when I became an aunt,
Right.
which is so. And then
Yeah.
over the years, I met people who were the same age as a niece or a nephew because not only was their mother having a child, their sister was having a child at the same time. So
Right. Oh man, what a cool dynamic though. How cool is a 7-year-old? Like I'm picturing it in my head, but I'm sure what a beautiful memory. Just so I'm sure so vivid of sprinting down the road to meet
I
your niece.
do. I just had that thought when I said, well, what was it like? It was exciting. It was just really amazing. But then as you become an adult and she has her own family now, I have my family, and I'm like, do you really realize you were only 7 when she was born? And how you had to become an immediate mentor,
Yeah.
or immediate you were looked up to, because
Right.
really what happens in families like that, you're looking up to that older brother or that older sister.
Yeah.
You want to be just like them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, not everybody had positive siblings to
Right.
look up to, you know. And so that when I look at it's just that you just take it and you learn from it. And you say,
Yeah.
well, what about that can I share, with women that, sometimes as women, we're put in roles of mentoring and don't really realize it. And I was put in a role of mentoring and didn't realize it, but gaining the wisdom from my older siblings on different subject matters and things like that helped me to be able to give advice to older women and to my own peers. You
Yeah.
know, um, I didn't have much of a dating life where I can really say someone was my boyfriend.
Right. Right.
I didn't really have that, but I had friends that had boyfriends, and when they were getting married, I would be the bridesmaids or I would be the maid of honor. But I remember one of my friends got married and her husband said, I don't trust her with nobody else but you, you know,
Yeah.
because he said, one, I know she's all right. She can go out with you. He was a little bit possessive in the beginning of their marriage.
Yeah.
And so he said, she can only go with you. So we, and he said it. He just said, I only trust her with you because I know you're gonna get, steer her the right way, and you're gonna let her see the bigger picture of the situation. Because I do remember when they were in high school and they had an argument, and it was like 8 o'clock at night. At my home, my mom wasn't having no boys at our house
Right.
for me anyway. But he came to my house on a weeknight looking for her, asking had I talked to her. And fortunately, my mom did let me talk to him, but I didn't know where she was. I didn't know what had happened at that point.
Yeah.
And I had to talk some sense into him to go back home, calm down. This is
Yeah.
not going to get you any positive situation. You know, you're not married to her. You're
Right.
just her boyfriend, you
Yeah.
know, and that doesn't give you any rule over her.
Right.
You guys just decided that this is someone that I want to consider my boyfriend to date, but you didn't say I do or marry, so you don't. She's not obligated to all the things that you're requiring of her. So
Yeah.
you need to just go back home and chill out until she's ready to talk.
Right.
That was even in high school, my senior year
Man.
in high school. So
Wow. Um, I wanted to ask too about parenting during COVID times. What was that like? I saw you take a breath of.
oh my goodness. It was difficult. And I just remember March 12th, I was at work, and whatever Friday that was, March 12th or 13th here in Maryland is when it happened.
Yeah.
I remember my boss calling me and saying, you can go home, take your computer, make sure you get a computer, whatever. No explanation. Then I was going by a store and I saw all these people with water,
Mm.
with food in their basket. I said, well, let me stop. Well, the store was wiped out. I did grab some meat or something. And then I realized I got a text from the school that the kids were being let out and they weren't going to be coming back. They were going home. And then I realized this was the pandemic.
Yeah.
What do you do? We were all thrown into this, parents and everybody,
Yep.
right? So parenting in the beginning for my kids, they didn't have homework or any school obligation for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And then everything started to happen maybe in the third week when the teachers and the school system had figured it all out. It was difficult for them. Fortunately, they did know how to navigate the computer with virtual learning because there were some things even when they were in school, they worked on the computer. So that part was fine. But at the time, my son was seventh grade, and of course, he's a technology um, game player,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yep.
And so, my husband and I are working here at home. Fortunately, each of the kids, we were able to kind of put them in their own room, and we put my son, who's a teenager, down in the basement so we can all have our space.
Yeah.
But it was I would say it was rather difficult because for my middle son, for my twin son, we would go in and he would act like he had the computer of the Zoom or the Google Meet class app. We would walk out and he would have his game on.
Yep.
So he would play us, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here's the class
Yeah.
right
Yep.
here. So it came out when we know for 5 weeks he did no homework.
Oh man, that
And we
sounds like
had to
something
do a
I would have
lot.
done.
Yeah. Because
Totally.
we started getting the text from the teachers. Then we started getting, we haven't had him do any work. He shows up for class. That's why you haven't seen any absences, but he's done no work. And so we had to get on them. We had to stay on them. And
Yeah.
even in this semester, this is their last semester, having to stay on them because I think what happened is the kids lost motivation
Sure.
and a lot of pressure was put on them with navigating the work outside of school and
Mm.
not just in the classroom. So as a parent navigating through virtual learning, I would say it was very difficult. It was very challenging, and it's still a challenge, but for us, an opportunity opened up for our twins to go back to school for 2 days a week.
Oh, great.
At first, I was like, no, I'm not sending them to school. Can't handle it. I don't know what other parents are doing,
Right.
as far as safety wise. But I realized that my kids were also suffering from a social aspect.
Sure.
They had their friends on Zoom, and maybe my son would do lunch bunch, but I found my daughter was being isolated and staying to herself and not wanting to be with friends anymore like she was over the summer and in school. So about 3 weeks ago, we put them back in school for 2 days a week. And I want to say that their personality has changed.
I bet.
I see more smiles. I see more, the relief of a little bit of stress because they're helping the kids get caught up even at school with some of the work.
Yeah.
The pressure was all on the parents,
Right.
but I think it took that. But I didn't know. I just thought we were trying to keep them safe, from this pandemic because we knew people that had COVID. We knew people that, and we knew some of the school systems was having symptoms and cases because we would get emails throughout the whole day. Check the email. There's a letter from your child's school, that there was a case of COVID with the child and whatever. So I didn't really want to send them back.
Yeah.
But now that they've been back in for about 3 weeks, I say it's the best thing and I should have done it sooner.
Hmm.
And the more that I'm talking to other mothers and we tell our story together, they're like, I should have done the same thing also.
Right.
Because I didn't realize how much. But what I did create in my family, because everyone with this virtual learning, everyone having their own room, doors are shut. They got this independent thing, as if they were college students that,
Yeah.
knock if you're in my room. Well, no, you're still a minor child,
Yeah.
But not only that, I had to create an environment that was going to be healthy for my family. And probably around the summer, I developed where we, every Saturday is our family game night.
Beautiful.
My husband and I are old school. The kid, and we used to have a different type of phone, but now we got the same phones that the kids have, and we even learned how to play some of the games. So we do card games, we do the board games, and there's games that they have on their phones. So we're playing all of that.
I love that.
From 7 till about 11 o'clock on Saturdays because we're having that much fun.
Yeah.
But it also gives us opportunities to engage and conversate with them about everything.
Yeah.
And we were going to in-person church before COVID or before the pandemic. So that all went virtual.
Yeah.
In the beginning, my husband and I were the only ones. We wouldn't even put the kids through looking at virtual church, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But eventually we did. We came up, I was like, it's not right. They need it. So we all do virtual church. And after virtual church, we talk about whatever the sermon was.
Yeah.
But then we also do a youth devotion, which is strictly about situations that they go through as young teenagers, as youth. And that develops communication and conversations about us where they can give us examples about what they're experiencing and how they've navigated through. And so that's what we've done in our home. And I'm telling you, those two things alone has really helped us to kind of, one, check in with our children.
Yeah.
Two, see where they are. And three, just be able to let them know that they have parents that they can always come to and rely on.
Yeah.
Under any situation, even with my twin son, we had to approach him. We said, we see that, you have X assignments done or are not done. Why is that? He didn't want to respond. I said, well, let me let you know this. Mom and dad, we can handle the truth.
Yeah.
You might not realize it, but we were 8th graders. We were sneaky. We wouldn't even half the stuff you do. We wouldn't even be honest with our parents.
Right.
So we can handle the truth.
Yeah.
And I said, as far as consequences, we always have to have consequences, but we can handle the truth.
Yeah.
So finally, after about 30 minutes, he finally came back to me and he said, I didn't do my homework. I said, you wasn't telling me nothing new. I
Yeah.
knew that. I just wanted you to be clear with yourself
Yeah.
that you don't have to hide and not tell the truth about anything. So that
Yeah.
was really the lesson about him being able to come and learn how not much confess in a way that, you got, but for him to learn how to be honest within himself so that he can
Yeah.
get the help that's necessary.
Yeah. I think
In
that's so
addition to
beautiful.
that, right, in addition to that, we got a tutor.
Oh, good.
So a lot of parents, we can't pay the high price organizations that teach your children. So we have a
Yeah.
personal tutor who we know, who is also a teacher in the school system that we're in, who is also very good at the subjects that they needed help in, particularly math.
Yeah.
Because it's hard when you're in math and trying to do it on your own after the teacher have explained it.
Yes.
And so we also got that. So those are some of the things that we've had to do to adjust to make our life in this virtual world
Yeah.
work. And they all have seemed to work
That's
for
amazing.
us. And
Yeah, what a whirlwind that we all got smacked with this year. Last
yes,
year. I mean,
oh,
and I think the game night one really resonates with me. I think that's so what a cool way of showing because I think parents get seen as the not fun that we don't want to hang out. Like it just happens. That's the natural way of kids. That's what we all think about our parents. We all been through that. But to have to be in a home with your family for so long and you're not getting to get out and physically see people, but then to have a game night and be like, hey, here's our old school games, but there's also our phone games. We'll learn it all, and like you can still have fun with your parents. I think that's such a cool creation you guys came up with of like, let's just do game night because I mean it's fun for all ages. Like I still love playing games.
yeah, it's so wonderful, because I was thinking about as a single person, we used to get together and have game night as single people, no one's dating anybody. We're just all coming together, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, what can I do to help bring our family back, that we could feel like, because I think what a lot of parents in this virtual world has realized is that they lost touch with their children.
Yeah, definitely.
And hearing so many stories after stories, I realized I can't do that. We're going to have some touch,
Yeah.
because our dinner table became my husband and me and my husband's office space. He's on one end of the dining room table, I'm on the
Yeah.
other end.
Yeah.
But what I realized is that now we put up a 6-foot table, and that's where we put the computers there for the weekend so that we can have our dining room table back for family dinners on Saturdays and Sundays,
Yeah.
just to kind of get that back.
I love that. I love that. That's so good. Um, all right, I'm going to change gears a little bit, and I love asking this question to everybody. And just COVID restrictions aside, that we're in a world where COVID has passed, or we're before COVID. But if I came to you and I said, Veronica, I have a ticket to anywhere in the world, plane ticket, you can fly anywhere you want. Where would you fly to?
Wow. You know what? I would like to go to Aruba.
Ooh, I like
I've
that.
never been to Aruba. I know I just want to have fun. I
Yeah,
just want to go to Aruba. I think of it as I don't even know anything about Aruba, but I just want to go to Aruba. I think that would be where I would want to go. I'm not really a water person per se where I swim,
yeah,
but I do like to put my feet in the water. I like
yeah,
to walk the sand and just on the tip and have a little splash of a
sure.
wave.
Yeah.
And I would like to go to Aruba.
Yeah, for all the scariness of water, it is super peaceful to just be by it and put your toes in it and just walk by it. I completely understand that.
Yeah, I've never learned how to swim. My
No.
siblings learned how to swim. When I got to high school, they took swimming out of school.
Oh wow.
So I never learned. And having different texture of hair, I never wanted to get my hair wet
Sure.
because it's too much to try to get it back to
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah,
Was one of the main reasons too.
that makes sense. In your travels in your life, what is one of the more surprising places you've been?
Um, the surprising place I went was South Korea.
Wow.
My husband and I were engaged, and he got a duty assignment to go to Korea. And so if we were to get married before well, let's just say this: he got that assignment, and as soon as he got there, he purchased a ticket for me to come. And I went. It was a thing. I went during a Thanksgiving week
Okay.
and spent time there. And that's where we did all of the planning of our wedding because we were getting married the following year. So we were
That's
able to
amazing.
do that. But
Cool.
Korea, and it was so different because here in the United States, we have our military bases and we have um, we, not until you go on a military base do you really see the impact of the military.
Yeah.
But in Korea, it's so different. The military are right there when you get off base, out of base, and they're carrying their guns. It's such, here in the United States, we have so much freedom. But in Korea, there's no freedom,
Mm.
to just walk freely. And you better have your passport because you're
Yeah.
not getting that on or going anywhere. But it's a different, in the United States, we have this air of freedom, but there you have this air of insecurity
Mm.
that where I'm walking may not be safe.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, I find that
and
when
that's how I can describe it.
yeah, I can feel that when I've been in places where there's just massive guns, I just don't feel comfortable. I feel something at any moment is about to happen, and I just like kind of freeze up. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. I just anytime I'm around big weapons, that's how I feel. I had a friend that worked at the Pentagon, and I went in there and I saw the guys carrying their massive weapons, and I felt very uncomfortable the whole time. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is wild.
But one thing I must say, if you're on a military base and they have their guns, if something goes down, they're going to take them out. So you're going to be
True.
safe.
Yeah,
That's
that
about the
is true.
safest place,
Yeah, yeah,
especially rather than on the streets when you don't know where it's flying.
yeah, yeah. I did see in the article that I read, you had a couple pictures with a couple different presidents. Tell me about that.
Yes, my husband was in the military. He
Okay.
retired after 20 or 21 years, and one of his duty, his jobs in the was that he worked for the White House Communication Agency. They are the
Wow.
agency that provides communications to the president,
Wow.
and he was a vice president. They call it a VPCRO,
Okay.
but I want to say he was the vice president communications officer,
All right.
where when the vice president traveled, he and his team would go to that location ahead of time and set up the communications. You see the podiums, you
Yeah.
see different other various things. They set up hotel communications, so that it can be secured for the vice president when they have to get on.
Wow.
And that works the same for the president. Um, and so one of the pictures you saw was with me and my husband and former President Bill Clinton and
Yeah.
Hillary.
Yeah.
Well, the year that they were, one of the years that they were, they gave a Christmas party for the military. And my husband was one of those invitees, and I was his guest. And there was several of him from his organization and various organizations throughout that provided service for the president and his wife, First Lady. And they invited them to their own Christmas party as a thank you. And one of the perks was to have a picture at the end of the night on our departure.
That's so cool.
Yeah, the second picture you saw was with my husband and I with former President Bush Jr.
Yeah.
And that was when my husband was retiring. You working with the White House Communication Agency, you get a photo opportunity that at the end of your assignment of working with the president, you get a photo with the president, and you can bring your spouse.
Wow.
And so that was the day that he had retired, and he had an appointment to go and take a picture with the president. And in fact, on that day, it was all of the people that had worked with them that was retiring would go and have this photo opportunity. And
That's
so that's
amazing.
how I was honored to have those photos
Yeah.
with both presidents by marrying my husband, who, by the way, we've been married. It'll be 23 years in September.
Beautiful. I love
And
that.
working with him in ministry as far as being a minister. We're not pastors of a church. We just go to a church where we operate in our gifts to work with couples that are engaged and that have hiccups, as well as our own business alliance seminars that we do coaching for couples and for leadership coaching for organizations. Is how my whole spill of my life is there.
I love it. All right. I have two more questions for you.
Okay.
First one is, what would you want the world to know about you?
I would want the world to know that I am, number one, um, a woman of God, or a woman of faith, a woman that loves her, that relies for me, I serve God. So I'll just say that, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm a woman that relies on God through reading his word and getting understanding for how my life is purposed, and carrying that over, working in ministry to ensure that people are whole, that even as crumbled as their lives may feel or appear, that their lives can be put back together to a whole piece when
Yeah.
they kind of fix all those broken pieces. And a woman who is caring, who is loving, who, though I'm an introvert, I do love people, and I love helping people. But I also know helping people without without boundaries.
Yeah.
Knowing boundaries, because you can help people, but when people say not this area, you got to learn how to navigate in that area and when to back off.
Sure.
Because a lot of people say they want help, but then they're not ready for what it takes to get the help.
Yes. 100%.
And so that's where the minister aspect come. And then from the coaching aspect, I just help people from today on. We leave the past and where you are now, to the counselors that are really certified in that area.
Yeah.
I work with people that are ready to move on from today on,
Yeah.
reflecting that your past has brought you here, but I'm ready to move on and get into my life so that I can become whole to the perspective that it provides me clarity and purpose, that I'm able to fulfill it in the way that will be gratifying and satisfying for me.
Yeah.
I think I just love helping people, and I love helping people navigate through life to becoming whole, is what I would say. People, when you look at me and you know me, you'll say one thing about her is that she's always helping people see the bigger picture and coming out with encouragement that they can survive their tragedy of life.
Yeah. I love that. That's so beautiful. So beautiful. And I mean, I've just met you, but I can feel that from your story and from just chatting with you. I can feel that. So I really have enjoyed our conversation. And
Yes.
the last question I have for you is, if you had the ear of everybody in the whole world, what would you say to them?
I would say be encouraged. What you're experiencing today does not have to be your tomorrow. and that there is hope and there is life after this storm. It will pass. It's just right now. Fix it here in the immediate, that it will not be a part of your future. Just be encouraged to know that everything that you go through, there is a way for it to be fixed. We make it worse when we just keep adding to it. So just do what is required. Don't try to do more. Get it fixed and move on. Just keep it moving. Don't get stuck in this one situation. It's just a matter of moving you to be strengthened for the next task at hand.
Yeah, I love that. That's so beautiful. Such a good message. And all of your message throughout this whole conversation has been so fantastic. And I thank you for taking the time to chat with me this morning.
Well,
It's been so lovely.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity. I enjoyed myself.
Good.
And I wish you all the best.
Thank you. You as well. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Saturday.
Yes, thank you. You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Beautifully Human podcast. To hear more beautiful stories from beautiful humans, follow us on Spotify and rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at the Beautifully Human Podcast. Peace signs up.